Just a few hours ago, the popular musician King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, also known as K1, is denying claims from the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria that he violated boarding rules earlier this week while trying to board a Valuejet flight to Abuja. It comes as both the Airports Authority and the Civil Aviation Authority are investigating an incident that has reportedly been captured in a now viral video when a Valuejet plane started leaving its designated area without adhering to pre-departure rules. Let's take a look at the video, and it's a little shocking. We'll play it now.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Telecast TV. I'm Miracle Angala. You're watching trending news around the world. K1 denies claim on Valuejet incident. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria says K1 brought alcohol on plane. President of the African Development Bank, AFDB, tells Nigeria to manufacture cars. Federal government plans to revive textile industry. Custom find 250 bags of rice in truck in a fuel tanker. Lastly, 3 Nigerian students win international English and debate competition. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu congratulated 3 Nigerian students for excelling at global competition in a statement from President Tinubu's special advisor on information. Endeavor to watch to the end. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, subscribe, like, comment, and share your thoughts. Don't miss trending videos.
Wait now, try you strong. Why you not wait?
So in a press release, the FAN says this moment happened after K1 tried to bring a liquid on board, which isn't allowed. They say that after refusing to comply, the liquid spilled on an officer, which is how they found out it was alcohol. K1 then moved to the front of the aircraft and refused to leave the area. Well, now the musician's spokesperson is saying that's not true. That, quote, at no point did K1 act in a manner that endangered lives or breached safety regulations. They say that the substance in question, which was wrongly sensationalized in their words, was nothing more than plain drinking water given to him at the airport lounge while he waited to board. And, you know, I'd like to get all of your reactions to this story, but Rufai, I'll start with you because it seems like everyone has different accounts of what happened. But at the end of the day, the video that we saw looks like a lot of people's lives were being put at risk. So this is a serious matter.
Okay, so everyone has different accounts to what happened. And that's why sometimes I will have thought that probably those that witnessed it, some of the passengers were able to give us a video evidence. Because in things like this, it's always about what you said, what the other person said. I've also had another account. In fact, somebody sent to me that he was with even the owner of the airline, and the owner of the airline had been calling him to appeal to him and say, okay, just let it go or something. And, you know, there are many accounts. So that one is circulating. I can't, that's an anecdotal evidence. I can't take, I've not independently verified anything. I can't take that seriously. But like Donald Rumsfeld will say, let's go from known to unknowns. The knowns, what do we know? We know that Wasiu Ayinde Marshall was in front of the plane on the tarmac. He was not supposed to be there. Wrong. Secondly, we know that once somebody was in front of the plane, the pilot was not supposed to bolt away like that. The pilot, wrong. I think the pilots have been suspended.
Yes.
So those are 2 knowns. Let's go to unknowns. Did he hold any cup or something? Anecdotal. No evidence. Do we have a picture of him holding cup? No. How could we verify that it was alcohol? They said it spilled on somebody on the plane. Again, do we have any evidence of that thing that was in the cup that we can bring out and say, this is alcohol? I say that also because we need to get all these facts right in doing a holistic thing. Yeah, I know there's another part of society that say, oh, people are very high-handed, especially they are big men. You know, Wasiu is close to the president. He holds a prominent position in Djibouti and all of that. But I'm talking to facts now. Where is Fan's evidence to ascertain that it was alcohol that was in that gun? How did he get to the position of boarding a plane when alcohol is not allowed to get to the position of boarding a plane and even getting to even spill alcohol when he got on the plane? How did he get on the tarmac in the first place? And you had some officers placating. So what is the evidence of those officers that were talking to him? What were they talking about? I think going forward, we should have recording cameras on the tags, on the shirts of these fan officers, on their jackets, because we need evidence. Secondly, I think going forward, this is one too many with he said, I said, and fan. Example was what happened between Adams Oshiomhole, Air Peace, and fan. We can't afford that. I think also going forward, we must be able to have an holistic review that every passenger can abide by. So now we know that you're not permitted to take liquids in. But on the contrary, we have also have people that ask and say, on international flights, we can take liquids. Yes, but that's after you get to a point where all the liquids you have been checked and they know at the...
Under 50 mils.
Under 50 mils at the value-free area.
It's 100 mils.
You can carry a certain threshold for international flights. But on local flights, we know better. So on this matter, it's very hazy. If you will give me a video now that shows Wasiu Ayinde Marshal spilling the drink on this person, I will be the first to abuse Wasiu here. If you can give me a lab report that shows this was the item taken from Wasiu Ayinde Marshal and its alcohol, I will be the one to berate him. But I like to talk about the things I know, and that's why I went from known to unknown. So it's still very easy. There's a lot of anecdotal back and forth. It's about, if you also give me a video of a passenger on board that video when the altercation was happening, yes. So maybe FAN should bring us those investigations, let it come back. Without that, it would still be, I said, you said. But we have seen the faults from there. The pilot was wrong. Wasiu was also wrong to be in front of the plane at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Very dangerous. What about
I stand to be corrected, but I think the captain can deny any passenger boarding from the flight at any moment. Of course, if you're airborne, that's difficult. But the airline does reserve the right to deny any passenger access onto the aircraft if they feel that there is a security risk, if they feel so many things, because the primary thing in aviation is security. So it would have been one situation if he has been denied access boarding onto the aircraft and then he went back and challenged that he was denied. But what we see is you are denied access to board the aircraft. And then, unfortunately, there's this situation where, because he's also surrounded by some of the ground staff, they're behaving in a reckless way. I would have thought that there would have been somebody to restrain him, because they were also just kind of there loitering. You know, they didn't make an attempt to direct him to a safe place. I've never in my life seen a passenger walk in front of an aircraft that close to the very front of it. Usually there are even, cones, there's demarcation, there's something, right? So I say this to say that I think that there's a degree of impunity that happens. I know that those in aviation will get upset at this type of statement because that's not the image we want to paint. But the truth is, if you travel domestically in this Nigeria, you will know that you have been through one or two things that you will never see anywhere else. That's the honest truth. Whether it's people rushing to board, whether it's people, there's a lot of things that are happening that shouldn't be happening. And we say this not because we don't like our aviation sector. We say this because let's resolve it. Let's fix it. Let there be sanity. Because when there's sanity, when it's well regulated, people will know that they can't get away with big manism if it's a case of big manism. When there are rules and they're adhered to, and we know that these rules are going to be implemented, then people will also fall into line. So yes, we can speak of the high-profile cases, but there are low-profile cases that happen on a daily basis with regular passengers who also feel that they've been wronged by the aircraft. So they feel like they can also retaliate by doing their worst. But I just thank God that in all of this, nobody was injured, nobody was killed, because that could have been, this story could have ended a lot more tragically. And I just sincerely hope that all of this can be ironed out and resolved in an amicable way. Some people are saying that, the pilot should be suspended for an extended period of time. Some people are even saying that the passenger should also be put on a no-fly list. I think that we can use this as a teaching moment for all those all parties involved. And let's see how we can regulate this sector more closely when it comes to domestic travel.
I think there's something that happens when people are at the airport and in vehicles, because I think the mentality of it is something like road rage is, again, an international problem. But again, there's something that happens to people when they're in their cars and they really, really are hypersensitive. If someone crosses in front of you, you get angry. You've seen many videos of people jumping out of their cars, getting into a fisticuffs. And I think that you see that also at airports. I don't know what it is, whether it's the strict rules or people thinking that they are too important to adhere to liquid rules or timing rules or whatever. There's something that happens when people are in transport or in transit that really distorts the way they behave. In terms of Kwam himself, Wasiu Ayinde, he said, he released a statement, I saw it on social media, and he talked about how he feels as though he is the victim in this situation. He talked about how he had received numerous apologies from many people, from the airports authority, from the managing director of the airline himself, basically saying that all of them agreeing that he had been treated poorly, and we really don't know what the ins and outs are. As you've said, we don't know what actually happened, whether or not he was on board, whether he was on his seat, whether or not he made it that far. There's so many questions that need to be answered. What we have seen, though, the video is shocking, and I think it shows that there was bad behavior all round. First and foremost, everyone needs to prioritize their own personal safety and the safety of others. There should be no reason why any passenger should be that close to the outside of the plane, regardless of who they are. So I don't know why that happened. And it is very unfortunate and very shocking to see that a pilot who you'd expect to be well-educated, well-trained, would ever deploy their vehicle or a weapon in this instance so close to other people. As I said, there's bad behavior all around, and we're hoping that everything comes to an amicable solution, but there does need to be a bit more understanding that everybody needs to behave properly at the airport, whether you're a passenger, whether you're security staff, whether you're a pilot. Let's not abuse our powers, whatever they be, and let us just all contribute to a peaceful travel experience.
We don't do this internationally. We like to
people
do it
to be honest. People do. I've seen people misbehave in airports. Honestly, people misbehave. That's what I'm saying. That I think that is the thing.
Everywhere.
People misbehave in airports.
Maybe
for
not
sure.
standing in front of a plane.
That one I haven't seen. That one I haven't seen.
First time for everything, I guess. Yeah. So, moving on to our next story today. The president of the Africa Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, is saying that we can't keep importing cars into Nigeria, into Africa. Instead, we need to start making them ourselves. Adesina made these comments after visiting the Saglev car assembly plant in Imota here in Lagos. Saglev makes electric vehicles, or e-vehicles, and cars that are climate conscious are part of the bank's major efforts to support sustainable industrial leadership. Adesina says that African manufacturers, like the ones you see here, need power. They need infrastructure to be able to lower the cost of production. Even related to that, electric vehicles require power to charge. Earlier, the assembly plant also hosted the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who also pledged the federal government support for the plant. And from the car industry, let's also now go to a story on the textile industry, with the federal government saying they plan to revive it. Just a few days ago, the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, John Enoh, along with the MD of the Bank of Industry, Dr. Olashupa Olusi, toured two major textile hubs, United Nigerian Textiles Limited and Shellco Industries. So during the tour, they were received by the Emir of Kano, His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido, who was also the chairman of UNTL. The Emir spoke about how UNTL was once upon a time a key player in Nigeria's manufacturing sector, until the factory had to stop operating a few years ago. In a post on X, Minister Enol says that during the tour, the Emir of Kano decried the shutdown of a once thriving factory in 2022, citing economic difficulties despite its track record of employing over 10,000 people across the value chain. So they also toured Shelco, and this is a textile company that's still in operation. They employ almost 300 workers. And big picture, in the 90s, the textile industry here in Nigeria was a major driver of the economy, created jobs for, hundreds of thousands of people. So, whether we're talking about cars, we're talking about textiles, it feels like if we decide to revive either of these industries, it's something that's going to take a lot of intentionality from the government, because they could produce great results, but it takes a lot to kind of bring them up to speed. Rufai, I'll start with you.
All of this is tied to the economy. I just hope I get the time. I hear what President Adesina is saying. It's not today Nigeria started assembling or making cars. Nigeria started making cars. There were some assemblage plants of some Bedford trucks way back the late 50s, even before independence came. These were some of the trucks that were assembled. There was Leland, some of the buses and trucks and things like that. But when we started the industrialization decree and we're industrializing the first industrial plant, second industrial plant of the 70s, the Nigerian government even went ahead to partner with Peugeot Automobile. And we had Peugeot Automobile of Nigeria, PAN. We had the plant in Kaduna. We also went ahead to partner with Volkswagen. There's a place in Lagos called Volks Bus Stop till today. That was where the Volkswagen factory is. Have you ever wondered why most of the downfall buses in Lagos are Volkswagens? It's because we're making them here. The popular Faragon that they drive on the streets. We had an economy. People could buy a brand new car for 1,000 or 2,000 naira. Volkswagen was minting out Beetle cars. The economy was sustainable, it was viable. In the 70s, Yakubu Gowon did talk about the problem not being money, but how to spend it. I know Nigeria wasted that money. It was a viable economy. People would go buy brand new cars. But when the economy started to falter in the 80s, things got worse for people. The faltering of the economy in the 80s also segued into what happened to the textile factories. The textile factories in the 80s, we had a lot of them. We had the likes of, what's it called, Sokas in Ayekwe, UNTL in the Jos, Bompai in Kano used to be known as a real industrial hub. But when the economy started to falter, we had problems in 83. Import licensing, corruption led to devaluation of the currency. Most of these companies shut down. So because of that, we now resorted to importation. In the 70s, Nigeria was producing. Let me even shock you. Nigeria was making refrigerators. Adebo Ale Electronics. I used a Debo fridge, green in color.
You told me about it.
Debo, made in Nigeria refrigerator. So when I see Adebo Ale today being a hub for selling imported electronics, I look, I say, who did this to Nigeria? But we didn't support our own homegrown businesses. Importation of cheaper models started to come in. And that's where we are today. Nigeria does not need to reinvent. We've already been at the height, at an appreciable height in the 70s. What we need now are policies. The policies will have to look for a way to put money in people's pockets. Because you see, if you produce locally and you don't have spending power of people, how are people going to purchase these goods and services? Because the Chinese, obviously, because their government have made it easier for them to produce, they will outpace you in the market by bringing in cheaper models. So, congratulations to the like of Saglev, my very good friend and brother. But the question is, the viability of how many Nigerians can afford a new EV will set you. I drive a brand new made in Nigeria car. A new EV will set you back in lots. That's why we also talk about the economy. How many people have the capacity to be able to take those loans? So that's the holistic problem with the Nigerian economy. It's not today it started, but I believe we can fix it. We need to look inwards.
Absolutely. Very good history lesson, by the way. I appreciated that. So, just yesterday, if you were watching the show, you might remember us talking about how NAFDAC is cranking down on fake products. Well, now in Kaduna, the Nigeria Customs Service is too, after seizing 250 bags of rice they found hidden in a fuel tanker. So they managed to find this hidden rice after officers patrolling a road in Kebbi State got a tip-off. That's according to a statement from the Customs Chief Superintendent, Saidu Nuruddin. After the tip, the tanker you see in the images here was taken to Kaduna and searched until the bags of rice were found. By the way, this was not a small amount of product. Each bag was 50 kilos, and the duty paid value of the seized rice, according to this photo, was 20,510,000 naira. This is the customs value of the goods. So Vimbaya, I'll start with you on this, but I can get everyone's reaction as well. I'm curious, when they seize products like this, what do we know about what comes next? Where do these products go? Are they disposed of? Because this is a lot, it's a lot of product.
Yeah, I think, so it's a number of scenarios. Depends if it's fit for consumption. If it's fit for consumption, in the past we've seen them being sold at a very cheap price as palliative programs. If it's not fit for consumption, usually they destroy it. So it's one of those two scenarios. We hope, anyway, is one of those two scenarios, and we hope it's not re-smuggled into the market. However, that's what usually takes place when all things are fair and equal. Now, this issue of smuggling is something that I think we discussed earlier in the week when the Minister of Trade was in Benin Republic to just try and strengthen ties, because we know that a lot of the smuggling that comes into Nigeria, the routes are from Benin Republic. You have some from Cameroon and, of course, Niger, which if this is in Kaduna, then most likely you're looking at coming from that region. And what's going on? People are trying to crash the price of rice as much as possible. Now, we know that for a long time, Russia, I'm so sorry, my mind is elsewhere. Rice has been a contraband with regards to import. So we prohibited the import of rice in an effort to stimulate our own domestic production. Now, if you notice, we've been having a conversation around what is our domestic output of agriculture with regards to rice, with regards to all other produce, because there was an import waiver granted by this particular administration to try and get those imports in to crash the price. And truly, we did see the price reducing. However, you still have people who are smuggling. So what's happening? India recently removed export duties from Indian parboiled rice. And a lot of that, because it's cheaper now, is headed towards West Africa. A lot of it goes to Benin Republic and then floods the region. So you have people who are still looking for the cheapest possible way to bring this rice in so that they can profiteer and make that margin. And these are some of the things that people speak about when we say we are sabotaging our own local production. So I remember there was a tweet from Bashir Ahmed, who was a former advisor to President Buhari, and around the time that President Buhari died, and he was talking about all of the things that went wrong with agricultural interventions. And he had alluded to the fact that, we had anchor borrowers, there were so many initiatives for farmers and for agriculture. And he was saying that, well, the unfortunate thing is when we try to support some of our domestic sectors, agriculture being one of them, is that there's corruption, there's relooting, there's all sorts of things that happen within that value chain that you seldom see the intervention meet up with output. So this is something we're still grappling with. And now it seems that people are not satisfied with the fact that there was a waiver, there was a window that was granted for imports to come in. People still want to buy those cheap smuggled imports and still sell. And the sad thing is that they don't even sell them at a cheaper price. They'll still inflate it and sell it for a profiteer at a highly overpriced, overinflated price. So I'm glad that NAFDAC is doing the Lord's work in this concern because our food security right now is not where we want it to be. Yes, the president declared a state of emergency on food security, but we're not yet seeing the results. I believe that chart that Reuters brought earlier showed that 2023-2024 output was 5.4 million metric tons. It went down 2024-2025 to 5.2 million metric tons. What is happening? Inputs are expensive. The economic environment is tough. There's insecurity. Now there's flooding. There are so many challenges. However, I still think we need to look for concerted ways that we can support our agricultural sector, because crop production, when they did the GDP rebasing, was actually the highest contributor to our GDP. So there's potential there if we're able to get that ecosystem right. But for now, unfortunately, people such as these who are smuggling in things that we can produce so easily locally are doing a great disservice, because they really are sabotaging the food security of this country and Nigeria's ability to feed herself.
Very interesting. Keep following that for sure. So now we'll end with some good news, with political leaders celebrating the huge accomplishments of 3 young Nigerian women. 17-year-old Nafisa Abdullahi Aminu's 15-year-old Rukaya Fima and Hadiza Kashim Kali are being celebrated for their star performances at the Teen Eagle Global Finals in London, where they were crowned top performers in English and debate. In a statement from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's special advisor on information, it says the president commends these exceptional young Nigerians for the feat and affirms that the nation's future is much brighter with many of its youth as repositories of excellence. Yobe State Governor Mai Buni adds that the students are beneficiaries of the governor's scholarship scheme, which covers tuition for 890 students currently enrolled at the Nigerian Tulip International College. The former Minister of Communications, Isa Ali Pantami, wrote on X, "I strongly recommend that Nafisa deserves $100,000, a 3-bedroom flat, and a national honor from the federal government of Nigeria. In addition, her English teacher deserves a reward similar to the one given to the coaching and technical teams of the football and basketball players. We must continue to take education very seriously and reward the efforts of our citizens." And, you know, this is such a great achievement from these 3 young women. And it's interesting on social media, a lot of people are kind of saying what we saw in that last tweet, that the administration should give them money, they should get national awards, 3-bedroom flats. But, you know, we've seen this with the Falcons and the D-Tigers teams. But Adefemi, what's your reaction? Because how sustainable is it really to kind of give out $100,000 anytime someone does extremely well?
Well, this is the issue. That's the question. First and foremost, a huge congratulations to all of those very young ladies. What they've done is fantastic. It is a huge achievement and an international one. And if we're continuing on the same theme, if we're awarding our athletes for their international and their continental success, then these young ladies should also be rewarded. They have been noticed. I know that on social media, there have been statements released from Asovila, from the president, from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Of course, Isa Pantami had clearly talked about their achievements. So it's something that definitely, I agree, they should receive some form of a reward. And when people are rewarded, it does continue to encourage people to continue doing well. Is it sustainable? That's definitely a question. If we're talking about hardship and the government doesn't have money for this and that, I can see where that's coming from. But absolutely, these young women should be commended, should be rewarded. And we hope that we will continue to see more examples of Nigerians doing well on global stages.
Absolutely.
And just to add to that, Atiku Abubakar Foundation has also given them a scholarship, you know, all through secondary school and any university of their choice.
Congratulations, young ladies.
Yeah.
Well done.
Congratulations to them.
That's reward, actually.
All right.